Kalea, what are we talking about? I got 40 minutes all for you. You're all I want to talk to right now. So let's talk about it. What are we talking about, Kalea?
I think we're just talking about, well, remember we're going to talk about, I guess, gay marriage, gay relationships.
Gay marriage, homosexuality. Yeah, I asked you how consequential would that be for you? Like if we answer all that and you're like, darn, that's good. It wouldn't shift your lifestyle at all. Wouldn't make a difference to you. But I said, if Jesus resurrected from the dead, would that shift anything for you? And you said, if I came to conclude that that was the case, yes, that would have a lot of implications for me. I heard you. Yes.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I was thinking about it a lot. And I know that the resurrection is kind of like Christianity's like central idea, one of them.
Yes. Yes.
But I don't know. I didn't know if that was like. I'm not sure if that, like, proving that would even prove the rest of Christianity. You know?
Sure.
Like,
okay.
Purely omnipotent, omnibenevolent.
Okay. In other words, even if I were to say, oh, the resurrection occurs, and you're like, sure.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily, in your mind, show that the God that is behind that resurrection is a God that has specific attributes?
Yeah. Or even the Christian God.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we can go two directions for you, and I'll see which one you want to go to. One is we can look at what the claims about the resurrection are for Christians, according to the New Testament, and just see how weighty is this to them, like how central is that. The other is, or we can look at the logical reasoning behind the thing you just brought up, which is like, if Jesus rises from the dead, how does that interact with the God image of the believing community, or what are the logical necessities we have to derive from that? The premises are true. What is the conclusion that follows from that? So I don't know which one sounds more important to you.
Honestly, the second one. But
okay. Yeah.
I kind of wanted to go, like, if it's okay with you.
Yeah, we'll go either one you want to. I'd be honest with you. We'll do whichever one.
I guess, like, so I've just been very exposed to a lot of, like, atheist reasoning on why Christianity should not exist, like problem of evil paradox, all that.
Sure.
And I guess I just want to hear your defenses for that.
For the problem of evil?
Yeah.
Okay.
For that, or yeah.
All right. So am I hearing you right that you want me to share honestly what I think about how the problem of evil doesn't negate that there's a God, or that there doesn't negate that there's a good God?
That. Yeah.
Okay, that's more important to you right now.
Yeah.
Okay. I hear you. So let me start. We'll make it a dialogue if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure.
For you, are you currently as an atheist or an agnostic?
I'm atheist.
Okay. Would you say that there's evil in the world right now?
Yeah.
And you don't believe that there's a God?
No.
So what do you think is responsible for the evil in our world right now? What would you, if you had to pie chart it out, kind of like, where would you lay most of the blame at the feet of?
I would say that evil is just a natural byproduct of how the universe operates.
Okay, like evil in terms of, like, well, let's talk about specifically evil, because I think it might be difficult to nail this down, but I think we should nail that down. That's a good definition we need to think about. When you're thinking of evil in the world, or evil things that happen, what are some of the things you think of?
I think of, well, I mean, I guess evil, I mean, obviously, like, bad things that people do.
Okay, so you're thinking about what people do.
Yeah, but also, I think that, I don't think evil is the right word for this, but also just, like, bad things that happen.
Tragedy.
Yeah.
Tragedy. Like we're talking earth. Yeah.
All that.
So, okay, so would I be right in saying then, if I'm representing you correctly, evil is what we're talking about? We're talking about evil, not tragedy. Or are we focusing on evil that is done by humans to other humans?
I guess I think that, like, the problem of evil could apply to both.
Okay.
Tragedy and evil.
Okay, potentially certain. I think the reason I ask is because I think in one case, maybe, let me put my cards on the table to see if you want to pick them up with me, but if I do something that's wrong to you, and I think it's wrong, and I hurt you, like, let's say I take your resources, you're sleeping at night, bam, I break into your room or your car, or whatever, I steal stuff. There's this premeditation on my part. There's this following through with that. There's a carrying out of it. That to me is what I think of as evil, because there's a consistency to my crookedness. I have this thought. I entertain the thought. I premeditate on the thought. I do it. I carry it out, and then I see the loss of you at school. I keep your stuff. I never return it. There feels to me like that feels evil to me, very crooked. Whereas when I look at, like, tornadoes or earthquakes, I don't think that they're targeting me. I don't think that they're like, I'm going to mess Nick's house up today. You know what I mean? So when we're talking about evil, are we kind of talking about the same thing in terms of human evil?
I think, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think when I define evil, it's a very similar definition of evil. But I think that like I said, like the whole premise of the problem of evil is like not just evil, but those tragedies.
Sure. So we're just talking about suffering.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is, so just to zoom back out, we're not talking about why does a good God exist because there's evil. We're saying why does a good God exist because the world has suffering.
Yeah.
And so would it be fair to reconstruct the premises is that if a good God did exist, we shouldn't expect there to be suffering? Is that kind of the opposite argument of like, if a good God does exist, then we wouldn't expect suffering?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe it would be helpful for me to understand how you would arrive, like, since it sounds like that's the opposite argument, how would you solve that? Is that true to you? Like, if a good God exists, there shouldn't be suffering? Why would that be the case?
I mean, if a good God does exist, then there should not be suffering.
Yeah. Why is that the case? Help me understand why.
Because I guess if a God was like all loving and all powerful, then why would he permit that kind of suffering?
Okay.
Unfair suffering.
When you say permit, what would it look like for him to kind of maybe overrule or protect from? What do you think that would have to, like, let's kind of run the simulation. We're all created by God, I think, in both problems, right? God is loving, God is good. And, okay, so now we're in this world that we have where decisions are being made. What does God have to do to kind of still be good and not allow us to suffer now? We're on the earth, here we are.
I guess like think about that. Like,
Yeah. I want us to think about it. I do. I want us to think about it.
Yeah.
And just kind of experiment a bit.
I don't know, because it's like we have to still have free will. It's like not really.
I see. You're like, okay, you're already noticing there's an issue, right?
Yeah.
The human, if he tries to manipulate the free will of people,
Exactly.
there's something off about that doesn't seem to coincide with the good, loving God caricature, right?
Yeah.
But you also are assuming in that, and I think you are making the same assumption as I am, a lot of humans don't will what is good towards each other. A lot. Or at least more consistently than they do will evil for each other. Okay, so here's where I think we're at.
Yeah.
You and I both agree that humans are likely to the largest degree, they're probably more to blame for suffering than anything else on the pie chart.
Yeah.
But in your worldview as an atheist, you affirm that. That's true. But there is no God in your equation, so you already believe in a place where humans are entirely culpable for what they do and they cause suffering. So our positions are not super dissimilar, and that I also believe that human beings are more to blame for human suffering and culpable for evil. But I just assume, I also believe that there's a good God, and it helps me account for two things. Why I believe that there's evil and good. So if it's all atheistic, I assume we have to upload an evolutionary framework of some sort. And so the problem with that is we eradicate objectivity to our question, and it just becomes more of a gripe. Like, I don't like the way things are, but they're not technically bad because there is no bad. When I have a God, I'm able to put a moral framework on this to evaluate what is evil, what's good. And I think it's a framework you like. You and I both like that framework. The other thing is it does give me a way of accounting for the problem of good. And I think this is the other thing I would have you consider, Kaleo. And in all honesty, have you ever gotten things you didn't work for? And received blessings that you didn't work really hard to get? So you probably have benefited from a lot of people you don't even know.
Exactly.
And so that's not fair. But you have a lot to account for in your life, in the inventory of your life that is good. So I would say that believing that there's a God, it gives me the moral framework to affirm that there's moral evil, which you and I both want to do. And it also gives us vocabulary to describe why we have good things we shouldn't. Not just account for bad things that we think shouldn't happen, but account for the good things that shouldn't have happened either. That's the problem of good. So if you can envision a world, Kaleo, where you still are you, have all the good things you didn't work for, and you agree that human suffering is there, why not believe in a God at that point? Since it seems like you would say, wow, I think if God were to manipulate free will, he therefore wouldn't be a very good God. Are we helping you there?
What I would say to that is, I guess that's not really like evidence for a God.
Sure.
Like a world like that still exists in like an atheist perspective. And then can I ask you a question? How do you personally feel about like sufferings, like like for example, like a kid getting cancer?
Yeah, it's horrible.
It's horrible. Question.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I do know one of my friends just got diagnosed with brain cancer, and so a couple of my friends. I've seen a lot of suffering in life that I don't think the people that suffered, they didn't do something wrong to get it.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm actually very sensitive to the topic of suffering. I myself have not only suffered, but I've caused the suffering of other people in my life too. So I actually got more involved in the question than I think most people ever want to put into the question. Like, have I made people suffer? I think I actually have contributed to people's suffering at times. I've also contributed to the alleviation sometimes, I'm sure. I've suffered, they've suffered because of me, I've suffered because of them. So I'm just trying to be a full range of circle, yeah. Am I answering your question so far?
I guess not really. I mean,
what is your question? Maybe I should.
Just like how.
How do I feel about it? I said I don't feel great about it.
Yeah, I guess like. I guess does that not make you doubt a little bit, or like?
No, it doesn't. Not to cut you off
I guess
there.
What's your reason that like God allows that?
Yeah, I think that God certainly didn't make the world that way, and so, I think one of the things we would probably agree is there probably is a lot of evil in the world too, because people are striving to get things that they want at like crossing over the lines of other people's stuff. But the world God creates, according to Genesis 1 and 2, is a world where there is not a lack of resources, so there's no reason for war or violence to try to get something you didn't have, because everyone's well. So I can affirm and say, from my understanding, God creates a world in which you and I both long for. You probably long for the world that is described there, and I do too, but you and I have never seen it. But we already innately think that would be the best thing. Well, the Christian worldview gives me the name of what that is. That is a world in which did exist, and you strongly long for it, I strongly long for it. You and I have never experienced it. There's never been a point in history where that world's been around, that we know of, that we've seen, that we can read about, unless we take Genesis 1 and 2 into the situation. So I think that's part of the reason why I'm answering your question as, I think the biblical worldview gives me a strong reason to contend with these weird desires all humans have for a good world that's never existed.
Yeah.
An atheistic worldview doesn't give me that. It gives me less than that, because the bad things that happen to that cancer child is, it's just too bad for them. They're not strong. They didn't survive, and there's no moral reason why I should care. And the atheistic worldview, that's just survival of the fittest. It looks a little ugly and messy. It's not wrong or right. It doesn't really matter. And if it helps my survival, it might be something I should celebrate. And that's
I guess I would disagree with that.
Okay.
That kind of assumption that the atheists view. I guess
I wouldn't say they celebrate that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying in their worldview, there's no reason not to, because it helps their survival. That person who's dead now consumes more resources, and then I would like them to. I now get more things because of them. And so there's no moral reason to be kind of upset about it. It helps my survival. And there's no morality, so it doesn't matter if it's good. Yeah.
I feel like that assumption though it like assumes that like atheists are not moral, but
No.
Yeah.
Two things. It's not an assumption. I'm just showing my work.
Yeah.
In an atheistic worldview, there's no objective morality. So there's no objective evil or good. And that means that applies to all spheres of human life. This is me showing my work. So a child getting cancer is, it's ho-hum. It doesn't really matter, because there's no meaning to this. It's just me saying the outcome of the atheistic worldview is that it produces the situation that, sure, that's maybe inconvenient for some people, but it's not bad. It's not wrong. And if it consumes less resources now because of that, and I get more resources, there's no moral reason I shouldn't, because there's no morality. I'm not trying to assume that. I'm saying, unless you want to show me that there is an objective moral reason or objective meaning in an atheistic worldview that we can look at, I'm willing to concede the point and say maybe I'm wrong there, but I'm just trying to do my math. It's not an assumption.
Are you saying that like morality only exists with Christianity?
No, I'm saying morality has to, because by its definition, morality is not culturally defined. It's based upon objective moral values. Humans are appealing to a source outside of themselves that's external to them to set those values. And that source, if morals are unchanging, they're like, it's just as wrong to rape people 1,000 years ago as it is now. Those have to appeal to a source that's also existent beyond our time and space, which has to have a will for humans to act upon. And a will is consistent with a person. So I guess I'm saying very strongly to you, in atheistic regimes, the reason why there's more evil in atheistic regimes, you and I would probably condemn the evil, like that Stalin or Pol Pot or that Mao Zedong did, is there's no accounting for what humans are. And there's no moral framework by which to defend their dignity. So I know you sense the outrage too when somebody gets cancer, etc. I think you're justified in that outrage because I think you innately are assuming that human being has worth. But you're borrowing that from a Christian worldview. You can't have that from an atheistic worldview. You can't have humans who have innate moral value regardless of what they are unless you ground their value in something external to them. And because atheists cannot do that, there's no real legitimate logical reason. I'm not saying that any atheist walks around saying that people are horrible. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if we're just doing the logical reasoning that we're doing here, they have no reason, real objective reason to be upset to that. I'm not saying they aren't. I'm just saying there's no reason that their framework is. And my framework, I have a reason to be upset. That child's made in the image of God. This is a poor child that doesn't have the ability to defend itself from that. Its immune system is compromised. It's a tragedy because they're a human being made in God's image. I think atheists like to borrow the capital of that into their argument without justifying where they're getting that from. Do you think that on the atheist worldview there is objective value for human beings? There's not. And so that's why I'm saying your question when you asked me already kind of, we're closer than we think here.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're way closer than we think here. Where do we want to go here?
I guess then, I get what you're saying.
Okay.
An atheist asking that question is already there's a disconnect. It doesn't work. So I guess just approaching that question in just a Christian view, let's.
How would I approach it now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If I was a Christian, asking you that.
Yeah, and there are. I've had people that come up to this board and say, "Hey, my uncle just died.
Yeah.
This person just got hurt. How do you make sense of that?" Yeah. I first just go forward and be completely honest and say, I do not know. There's no place in the Bible that says the reason why God allows every incident of evil, though He's sovereign. I don't have a verse to point to and say, well, it's this is what it is. And I also don't think that if I did, that would satisfy the inquiry of the person asking me, because I don't think they're just asking me a logical question. I think they're asking me a logical and emotional question. Imagine the day after 9/11, a pastor gets up and goes, well, duh, this is the why God allows this. It's like, that kind of doesn't really hit the point that people are bringing up. Suffering is a very, very powerful experience in our humanness that we get. Here's how I would approach it though. That doesn't mean I knock the thing. I go, okay, look, in the Christian worldview, here's what you do get. First of all, you get a reason why we experience suffering the way we do. We have a reason as to why we experience suffering in general. That human beings are not in line with God's purposes that God created for them. And that's actually a really, really powerful point. The reason why you shouldn't use a laptop at the bottom of the sea is that it's not designed to function that way. And the reason that human beings, when they function contrary to their design, the reason why that causes chaos is because they were not designed to do that. I'm not designed to hate you. I'm not designed to hurt you. I'm not designed to take from you. I'm designed to bless you. I'm designed by God to bless you, to serve you, the way that God does. I would start there and say it's really profound what the Christian worldview can offer someone who's suffering is the reason why we suffer, though regardless of why God permits it, the overarching reason is we live in a world that has chosen to operate outside of the design that it was created to, and we all play part in that. I play a part in the suffering of other people. I'm sure any intellectually honest person will admit they've been a part of the suffering of somebody else. So no one here has got clean hands at all. The second thing I would say is that God actually cares about the world in such a way that what's unique to the Christian worldview is God steps into human existence as a person who suffers immensely. That's not a choice. You could choose to stay away from that if you would like to. Anybody could choose to stay away from that. But God demonstrates his love for his creation, which would include you and I, and also everything else he made, which he calls good, by stepping into it himself. Puts his money where his mouth is. And says, I'm willing to suffer the worst. I mean, Jesus historically was crucified under Pontius Pilate, under the reign of Tiberius, in 30 AD. He suffered mocking, spitting, shaming, expulsion. Name something evil that he did not experience. He chose to do that. In the worldview, the Christian worldview, we believe God chooses to step into human suffering and be mistreated with us, by us. Why? For what purpose? To redeem the world out of suffering. So, the idea of the resurrection, this is why this is important. The resurrection is the climactic moment of the biblical story, because the most powerful things that have affected you in your life and in my life are being dealt with on that cross. The mistreatment of other people, death, fear, anger, hatred, everything evil in this world that we've experienced, injustice. God in Jesus is confronting those things on the cross, and what no longer has the final word over human history are those things. So it's not just dying because he feels bad for us. He's dying to reverse the mess we put ourselves in permanently. And so the resurrection is the very beginning of a new life, a new world, a new chance for human beings to turn around. That's why I would say that what the Christian worldview does offer, it doesn't offer an open door into the mystery of the issue of suffering, but it opens a window. And because God comes in that window and says, I'm going to suffer with you. There is not a single religion on the face of this earth that teaches anything close to the thing that I just said to you. And it's the most powerful thing that I know. Most people who have talked to me will say, I may not believe what you're saying, but it's very compelling. It's a very beautiful thing that we have a God who writes himself into the story to solve the issue he didn't create. That's incredibly compelling that our God would step into that. And so what I tell people is, as you suffer, know that your God has scars on his body. It's very different talking to a pie in the sky somewhere far away, doesn't understand being, or just even a human being who's never suffered. You talk to somebody who's never suffered, and I understand what you're going through. No, you don't. When we are suffering and pressed down by evil, we have a God that's not unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, our scars, our pain, the evil we have a God who knows it, experienced it. That gives me a window into how to deal with evil in the world and how to overcome evil and not be overcome by it. That's what I would say to that person.
So, okay, no, that's super eye-opening. I really like that answer that you said you started. You don't know the exact answer to that question, but you know your God well enough. I don't know. I can't put it in words, but I know what you're saying. Yeah. So, do you think that baby goes to heaven then?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Okay. Because Jesus. So that's based upon Revelation. Jesus says in Matthew 18, "It is not my Father's will that even one of the least of these should ever be lost." And so, in fact, Jesus calls children greatest in his kingdom. He asks his apostles, "Who do you think is greatest in the kingdom of God?" And he grabs a child, puts it in the midst of them, and says, "Truly, truly, I tell you, unless you turn and become like this child, you'll not enter the kingdom of God. But these are greatest in the kingdom of God because they are willing to trust me. They humble themselves." And so I think Jesus is really gung ho. In fact, Jesus says the following lines after that. He says, "Therefore, if any of you should cause one of these little ones to stumble, it would be better for you if a millstone was hung around your neck and you were drowned in the bottom of the sea. It would be better for you if that were to happen than for basically me to get my hands on you." Because there's such an affirmation of the beauty and the vulnerability and the value of children to Jesus. Why? Because he created them. According to the biblical account, they're the most vulnerable of all of us. And so, in the Christian worldview, I can affirm human value at every level. And I think that's why I think when we look at human suffering and evil, of course we hate it. That's actually what makes us most like God, is that we know that this is not what we were created for. We know that this is not how things should be, and we know things should be better. The problem is we're pointing the finger at the wrong person. And here's the last thing I would say to you, Clay. I've said to you 3 times in this, maybe twice now, I think I'm a part of the problem. I really do. There's a contest that was made, I think it was 100 years ago. The question was, what is wrong with the world? The shortest answer was submitted by a man by the name of G.K. Chesterton. He said, "Dear gentlemen, what is wrong with the world? I am. Why? What do you mean? Because we do evil things. I don't know if you've ever lied before. You probably have told lies. You probably have stolen things at some point in your life, small or large. You probably look at people, you objectify people just like how I have. You probably have done a lot of the same things I've done. Now imagine this. You're in a courtroom, right? And you're with a decorated criminal. And the criminals, this judge who's before them has a perfectly spotless record, best judge you can find, worst criminal you can find. And the worst thing is, the criminal goes, I can't have a trial. This guy's not fair. What right does he have to point that finger at that judge? He's got badges of criminality on him. He's got 5 years here, 6 years here, 7 years this penitentiary, this. What's weird to me is we're very quick to put the blame on God not having done something. We're hard to tell him what he should do differently. Because we're like, well, you shouldn't alter free will. That doesn't seem very loving. That's very, very hostile to volition, to do that. That doesn't seem loving at all. My wife hopefully by her choice to be my wife. I'm not going to lock the doors. You got no choices, That's not loving if I do that. But here's the problem. The weirder thing is that we're accusing God a lot of the time of not having done better. We can't tell him what he should have done better. And yet here we are the ones saying, you're not better at preventing the mess that I made. That doesn't make any sense. That's why in the Bible, in Ezekiel chapter 18, the same accusation comes to God from his people. And he says, oh, Israel, you say, my ways are not just. Oh, Israel, isn't it not your ways that are not just? Isn't it? Wait, didn't you forget? Isn't it your ways that are crooked? Why should I be able to even judge God let's say he is criminal? We're in the same boat. So then we don't think he should judge us either. But here we are judging him by doing the things we've said we shouldn't do. And so that's why I think what's beautiful about the conversation at the end of the day for me, Kaleo, is God has already made it very clear what he thinks about you and what he thinks about me, even though we've done evil and done wrong. Just like it says in the Bible in Psalm 103, it says God doesn't treat us as our sins deserve, but like a father with his children, he's compassionate. He knows our frame, that we are but dust. How does he show that? By allowing himself to be pounded to dust on the cross for us.
Can I ask you for some advice?
Absolutely.
So, I love everything you just said. Love. And I guess I almost wish that, I could believe it. But, I guess, what advice would you give to someone like me who is open about, hearing about these different things? I'm reading the Bible. I'm open to it. But just the way, the way I approach the world is very logical, where it's I have to see to believe. And I guess what would you say to someone like that? I would say a couple things, and I pray that God helps me with this, because I know he knows you better than I do, and I don't know you as well as he does, obviously. Wait,
but
one more question.
Sure.
Is your belief kind of grounded in personal experience?
There's several facets. I think beliefs tend to be not only gained but held by a diversity of things. One would be independent logic and reason, like what we can know without seeing. Like logic and reason is not something we can see and show on a board. We're talking about things right now in this metaphysical model in our heads, and we're agreeing about it. We're agreeing with arguments we can't show, but you agree with it. There's history, there's science, there's experience, and there's function. And I think when somebody finds something that's historically true, reasonable to believe, experientially valid, and it functionally helps them improve, I think that makes that belief a lot more solidified, that it's true. I had all four of those. What I started with was not a lot of those. I was in a cult here on campus in 2012, and I didn't really believe in a lot of this stuff. I was getting into a Bible cult, a lot of Bible cults that are here. And I was reading the Bible for the first time, never read it. I grew up reading about it or hearing about it, going to church, but I wasn't a follower of Jesus at all. But if you asked me, I said I would believe in God, whatever. But that's pretty cheap. Demons believe in God too, you know what I mean? So basically I came to a point where I was like, I need to figure this out. And here's what happened to me. I don't think it's because I intended to. I wasn't so smart. I figured it out. One night, I was about to join the cult. I was about to go leave my parents, live communally with these people, give them my money. I was going to put all in. And I was like, I should probably pray about this. It's a big decision. It's a God decision. It's invoking God. I should pray to God. God, I don't know if this is the right way, but if this is the right way, let me know, show it to me, kind of help me. Very, very generic, not a high level of expectation of hearing back something right now. And I prayed many times, by the way, in my life before then, that God, will you save me or this or that? And nothing ever happened. It never seemed like anything changed to me. Other people maybe, but just not me. So I'm not expecting anything back. What happened to me though was I had this experience following praying that prayer right then and there that it was like Jesus walked off the pages of the New Testament into my car and I could sense his presence. And I don't know how I knew that, but I knew that I was in the presence of God. Frightening, amazing, all at once. And that was when I was like, I can't deny what's happening to me right now experientially. And I'm not the kind of person that lives off experience. So I had to go look. I started, like the reason I'm able to sit before you right now. And
just before you go, one more question.
Yeah.
If that experience didn't happen to you, do you think you would still be a believer today?
I don't know, but I could say this. Now having known what I do know about the history of Christianity and the logical necessity of some of the things we discussed, I would say that if that wasn't the door by which I entered the house, I probably would have found a sliding glass door another place because my brain works on logic a lot and reason. And like those are the things that really get me and make me think. It's not experience as much. I was still doubting some of my experience. The problem is that experience has continued for me for 13 years, and I can't deny its effect on my life in terms of changing me from a different person. Like the Nick that existed before 2012 is very different from the Nick you're sitting with right now. And everybody in my life can see that and knows that. Like who knows me, they know that. They could vouch something happened to him, and it's continued to happen to him, you know, and which I praise Jesus for, because for me it was Jesus. But I think that there's historical validity to what we're talking about. There's logical necessity. The Christian worldview is robust and satisfying all those different variables. And so for you, Kaleo, I would say three things. One, read the primary sources of the Gospels. If you're thinking about becoming a Christian, you want that, follow Jesus. Learn what he says, learn what he teaches. Bet him. Look what he says. The earliest historical resources we have about him are in the Gospels. So I would just say Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, rinse, repeat. Second is I would pray. I would ask God, like, if you really are out there, and this is true, please convince my heart. Like, show. I want to believe. Please help my unbelief. Like, if this is true, convince me. Like, because I need to be convinced. Like, to fully. You know what I need. I would ask that. Third is I would be humble, not to be honest. The reality is, not everybody wants to follow Jesus because they don't understand him, or because they deny the historicity. Like I just talked to a person last week. They're like, I've been listening to you. I believe the resurrection happened. Okay, what do you do? Well, I'm not going to follow Jesus. Why? Well, it just sounds like it's inconvenient, basically. And Jesus taught parables about this. The reason why people reject me isn't because I'm logically difficult. It's not because there's inconsistency in history or the Bible. What it really comes down to is this, our desire for comfortability and our desire for affirmation, our desire for acquisition is threatened by our desire potentially to follow God. And I would say it'd be helpful to keep a journal and talk about with yourself, why do I want this to be true and why don't I want it to be true? And you'll notice, if you're honest, I really believe this, you're going to notice that it's not because you don't think it's true. It's because you don't think it's convenient. And it's not convenient. Jesus is not convenient to follow, especially in America. Everyone uses his name for everything, and he's got a huge tab. Everyone's putting everything on his tab. But following Jesus is uncomfortable. Following Jesus convicts me. I got to face myself. It doesn't mean it's not good. It's great for me. But, man, it's humbling. It's humbling. Like, I got to face the things I've done.
To challenge that, for me, it would actually, I guess, the way I approach it is and I could be wrong.
Yes.
But it's like, it's not that I don't want to believe it. It's that it's like, I just don't have enough to believe it. And I'm looking for that, you know. And it would almost be better for me to believe it because my whole family is Christian.
Sure.
Like, I've always wanted to, fully believe that and fit in with my community.
Yes, I understand that. That's a cool. I appreciate your honesty. Jesus says, "Ask and it will be given to you; seek and you shall find; knock and the door shall be open to you. For everyone who asks receives; everyone who seeks finds; and to everyone who knocks on the door, it will be open to them." And then he says, "If you who are evil know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give the Holy Spirit to those who ask him?" Why am I bringing this up? The Holy Spirit, according to Jesus later, he's the one who convicts our heart as to what is true. He's the one who opens the eyes of our heart to behold God's presence as he really is. I would be praying. If I was in your situation, like what I would be doing right now if I was Kaleo, best as I know, I would honestly ask God, send me the Holy Spirit. Convict my heart. If I'm guilty before you, convict me. If you're real, convict me. Show me. I'm asking, I'm seeking. I throw his words back in his face. You said everyone who asks finds. You said. And if you don't answer, where am I going to go?
Okay,
yeah.
That's kind of where I want to end this conversation.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm gonna be fully honest, like, I am not like convinced yet, but I am, like what you said, like I will do that.
Yeah.
I will continue to try to find that. So.
I appreciate your honesty. Thank you so much for being with me.
I'll be back.
When do you want to meet again, or do you want me to
honestly,
be here on the...
I'd rather just can you just tell me your schedule? Like,
sure.
Obviously,
Sure. Let me give you my card. It has my phone number on it, and then if you text me, I'll text, because my schedule sometimes changes. I'll text you, hey, I'll be on campus these days or whatever. Cool. All right. All right, here you go, man. And then I'm also giving this to you so you can look up my organization and make sure that I'm like a legitimate person. I'm not taking people's money. I'm not a part of a cult. You can do your own research. That's because you should be able to do that. You know, don't just, if you like what someone says, that doesn't mean it's true. Yeah, 100%.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your ideas.
100%, dude. Thank you.
Yeah, have a good day.
Have a good one, man. How'd your midterms go?